All right, Gyle, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. Gyle has created a YouTube channel where he screen records himself looking at replays of FAF Forever, which is Forged Alliance Forever. It's a niche inside the video gaming industry, and he's grown over 8 million views on YouTube. He's got about 30,000 subscribers, but I don't really think that's a relevant number because his videos get a minimum of 10 to 15,000 views. So he's got a lot of suggested videos that are getting pushed out there. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick introduction. I appreciate you coming on today, Gal.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I don't get that many offers for interviews, so it wasn't that much of a hard sell. It was nice to come on and be able to talk about myself for half an hour or however long. But
awesome. Well, I appreciate it. So before we jump into it, can you just give us a quick spiel in your words for what your brand is all about?
To be honest, I mean, it's all about trying to keep a community afloat. The whole thing started, I guess, it's hard to remember, 2011, 2012, something like that. And I just did it because one day I logged on, and as happens with so many video games, the GPG, the people who made the video game, had pulled support because, let's face it, they'd been in it. I suppose 2007 the game was launched. 2012, I'm thinking it is 2011 or something. They pulled support, so it's 4 years on from that. And actually, the company itself ended up going pretty much bust soon after that, if not, around that time. And it was
looks like it was 7 years ago when you started.
7 years ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. It was just literally out of a shock. I mean, we all do it, I guess. If you're a gamer, you'll know what I'm talking about. You come back to a game that you loved. Maybe it's a game that you shared with your mates and had some really good times. And you just thought, I'm going to go back and check that out. Really fancy some of that. And it wasn't there. It had gone. And I didn't actually know that the community had banded around to rescue the project and set something up. And I was just, excuse me, I was blown away by the amount of work, mainly because I'm a complete IT phobe. Anybody who knows me, I have to ask people to help out with the channel all the time, from graphics to intros to you name it. And people have been great, by the way. I take my chance to thank everybody for the support that they give me. But it just blew me away how much effort this one particular guy, Zep, or Z Pilot was his screen name. He was basically running the show for this community-driven project of keeping this game alive. I just thought I'll knock out a cast. People were streaming lots of different games back on YouTube back then. I mean, it was already a well-established industry,
right?
But RTS itself, I mean, you had StarCraft kind of in its like StarCraft 2 in its kind of heyday back then, but RTS as a genre, real-time strategy for the uninitiated, it's been in its death throes, really, apart from that StarCraft resurgence for a long time. It's really been in decline. And I just couldn't bear the idea that all of this effort had gone into the community-driven program, if that was to fizzle out as well. So I just wanted to do the small part that I thought I could do, which was maybe just try and publicize some games. There were already one or two people doing it. There was TA for Life. I can't think of anybody else at the time, but there were definitely one or two other casters who were doing it. So I just wanted to try and do something, if you know what I mean, to try and publicize it, get more people involved in the game, make sure the community kept going. So that's what it was all about, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting and unique story, because you're taking a game that's been out for a while that was sort of on the downfall, and there's a lot of people that played it back in the day, and instead of them going back and playing it, they can look up some videos and see that you're casting these awesome replays of the game. So that's a really unique story for growing an audience and building a brand.
And I have to say as well, there was a little bit of a crux for me. I did start it beforehand, but it was like 2012. I ended a 8-year relationship. Someone I'd lived with for a long time, and I'd started casting beforehand, and I don't know, maybe pulled in 1,000 subscribers or something like that. And when that relationship broke down, it was a real crux to kind of hang on to if you know what I mean. So it gave me something to sort of keep busy in my free time. I wasn't going to go and like chill out and watch something on the sofa with my significant other. It was very much something to plow my spare time into, if you know what I mean. So
yeah. So before we jump into why you started, do you have an unintended consequence that you've received as a result of doing these replays and creating this content?
Yeah, I mean, I've made some amazing connections with people all over. I've had people ask me to come on and assist them with video game projects that they want to get off the ground. Not something that I really felt necessarily was, destined for greatness. I didn't feel like I possessed the knowledge, as well as we already said, my lack of IT knowledge and background. But you get a lot of that kind of community spirit when you set something up like this. And actually, it was quite weird. I moved towns with my now wife in 2014, and it was weird. A guy who I'd been in contact, one of my regulars who I'd always been chatting with, found out we'd had similar personal issues regarding mental health and stuff like that in the past. And turns out I've moved down the road from him. Just out of the blue. I only found out the other day, and we haven't met up yet, but we're going to go for a drink, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so now you've got a friend who's a neighbor as a result of this. That's amazing.
And when you feel like you might have a connection with someone, you share very similar viewpoints about things, and you've been through similar experiences. Sometimes you can just tell even through a text conversation. So yeah.
I've got Andrew Howell. He was one of my early guests. He said that he was doing a stream once, and someone jumped on that was not too far. So he literally just midstream said, "Let's go grab coffee." He ended the stream and went and met with them in person.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
That's amazing. All right, so I guess when was the moment where you feel like you started sharing just in general, like online on a larger scale than just who you interact with in person? Is that with the YouTube channel?
It was literally I don't know. So there was a game. So I like a major game addiction that's been going forever, but I had pretty serious issues with a game. I don't know if any of your listeners will be familiar with it, but it's still running today. But EVE Online, and that sapped my life. I mean, it was like 2003 to 2009, something like that. I ended up running a 700-man alliance, which is a group of different corporations that all get together, and it's the sort of game as well. It's not like your typical video game where most people will be familiar with. It's a proper long-standing MMO where to do anything in the game takes hours. Like it's a second life essentially, and it's actually, I'm pretty convinced now, it's a major negative for young people, because it really does. You're replacing life, especially now I'm a dad. It's like if I see any of my kids go near those sorts of games, I'm like, no, it's not happening. Not
I remember that game.
Job. Yeah. So and I literally, so it was like I was running a business, at that point. It was very much like I mentioned Z Pilot, who put together FA Forever, that did all of the background stuff. It felt like I was in that kind of position for all of these people. It was a more than a job. I was working essentially every hour I could possibly spare. Around what hours I did work, I was freelancing at the time, but sometimes I was pulling 18-hour days, and not coming off the computer. I was giving myself panic attacks and carpal tunnel syndrome and all of this stuff, dreadful stuff. So yeah, it was weird. I was literally there by the end. I was there running a business, facilitating everybody else's fun, but having no fun myself whatsoever. But still, that was a big deal. I felt like I had a lot of influence on that community, and maybe there was a touch of that still when I thought, I could see myself getting involved with another project, but something on my own terms. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what was nice about this. I could get involved.
When you say you're working, you're playing the video game, and you're working inside that video game and helping them get feedback for development, or that you're helping other people in the game, like grow as gamers.
Yeah, you're literally facilitating So like it's like logistics. Like if you were running an actual army or an actual fleet of spaceships, which is essentially what it is, you know, huge amounts of equipment needs to get moved around this fictional galaxy, and that requires pilots, i.e. players with certain types of ships and loadouts to move things around. You're building mega vessels, and it's just crazy.
So what does sharing look like in that environment then? Were you, is it like audio only and you're talking to your teammates and you're helping facilitate? That's
it. So yeah, you've got you're engaging in fleet battles and things, and having some fun too, don't get me wrong, and going out and shooting things, but it's also, you're on comms 24/7. So you've got like a Ventrilo or a TeamSpeak server or something like that running. Back in the day, it was on before Discord, which everyone's moved to now, but
so that got you comfortable with sharing your voice, just over the internet, broadcasting in general.
Exactly. I mean, like if you're in a huge fleet fight and you're commanding like 200 people or something, everyone's listening to your voice and you're calling the shots. So it gives you a certain comfortable kind of, you know. So I'm not sure I ever necessarily would have gone into the casting side of things if I hadn't had that experience first, maybe, but who can say, I guess.
Okay, so I see that as like stepping stone to you finding your voice and you know, and getting more comfortable with putting your voice out there. And then probably the next step is that the YouTube channel with FAF Forever.
So yeah, I mean, there was a huge break. I mean, I was like, that's it, I'm done with video games. I'm destroying my body. Yeah, you know, I need to focus more on work, and it was, you know, I always say that doomed relationship that actually ended up fizzling out for all the right reasons, thank goodness. And I met my wonderful wife a couple of years later. Actually, it wasn't, it was about 6 months later. But yeah, so it was definitely, there was a substantial gap. I mean, it was like 2009. And then, so there was some overlap there. So when that was kind of fizzling out, I was already falling in love with the game that I actually work on, FA and Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, and that was because it was my kind of crux and the thing that I used to, you know, transition out of and everything. I think that's part of the reason why it feels like a special thing to me, you know, even though I was never a pro, and I'm still not. I don't even play now because I don't get the time to play, but I just enjoy watching other people play, essentially.
Right. So. Okay. So what does it look like in the beginnings of that? Like, what prompted you to start recording and posting those early videos back in the day?
Bad, man. I look back on those first ones now. It's bad. It's so bad. Like the kind of, I know I was talking about what got me started and everything, and me feeling comfortable on the mic, but even still now, I look back on those early ones, and I'm not sure whether it's also the fact that I didn't have great equipment and it was all a little bit subpar, but I didn't bring any juice. I used to work in marketing. They always talk about bring the juice, right? Like, you know, no chutzpah, no excitement. It was bad. It was like the British version of Walter Cronkite or whatever, you know. That's sort of very dry.
So ignoring the bad parts, like what was, like, why did you do it? Like, why did you post that first video on the YouTube?
Honestly, the first one, it literally was just, you know, like I said before, let's try and help save this community, or not save it because it was going well, but let's help keep it afloat, because there was the shock of GPG giving up support for the game and ultimately going under. And then like, I know from my own communities and stuff that I've been a part of, like, gaming communities are even more fickle potentially than corporations, you know, supporting a game.
So you started the YouTube channel and started streaming replays to save the community and save the game and make it have a longer life, essentially.
To help, so yeah, and I definitely don't want to set myself up as a messiah and a savior, because there are so many people who do amazing things, and literally, like, I mean, maybe I could transition to another game, but I mean, there's no guarantee of that at all. And when FA Forever dies off, when the great people who work behind the scenes and keep it running, keep the server going, who keep balancing the game and keep it upgrading, they all chuck in the towel and say that, you know, they've had enough and there's no one else coming through, no young blood wanting to take it over, then my channel is in trouble. Like, that's it. That's the entirety of my my existence, and it's held up by the work that everybody else is doing behind the scenes. So it's not, like I was saying, it was about me trying to do my little bit, you
Right.
know. So yeah.
So I guess we can dive into that a little bit then. So why was it so important to you to help contribute towards elongating the life of this game?
I just, it's so peculiar. Like, I always loved real-time strategy back in the day, and you know, old school stuff like Command and Conquer, going before that, like Dune 2 and stuff like that, like going back to the early 90s and that sort of thing, because I'm proper old now. And it was just, I have a group of mates who all met each other on that other game, EVE Online, I was talking about. We've all stuck together now. We still hang out a lot online and play games together and such. But we used to have epic, it was very uncompetitive games of Subcom, very uncompetitive games, but they were real noob stuff. Like it's more like SimCity. Everyone builds these huge complexes and waits like 45 minutes before the first shot's fired. But at the end, these battles went on for they were like 6-hour games on, you know, 40-kilometer maps, these insane, like, ridiculous games. And although they were uncompetitive, and although anybody who knows anything about the game, if they were actually to see a snapshot of it, they'd be head in hands going, oh my god, what are you doing? It was so much fun. It was hours and hours of some of the best times that I'd had with friends of mine. And I just, you know, and not only that, when I wasn't playing with them as well, even back in the GPG days, the GPG format, which was pretty unusual for games in that time, that had a function where you could watch replays from you know, some of your favorites, are like the big guys, people who actually, like Salui and TLO, who ended up moving over to StarCraft, proper like pro gamers, and they started on FA, and you could watch these replays, and I got much more sucked into that than my other mates who played the game did. So on a different kind of level, I sort of appreciated it more as an esport, I guess. And I just thought it was always undervalued in that sense. Like GPG never pushed the esports with it at all. There was a crossroads ages ago where they could have gone for it, but they never did. And I think the game really lost out because of that, you know.
So you had these amazing times with the game. You're enjoying the replays of the game, and you find it really important to you know, help this game stick around and just contribute your piece to that. But I guess, why is it so important to you to do that and help others, you know, get that experience with the game? Like,
I think I've been so disappointed with where gaming has gone. I think it's part of getting old. Like, it's the quintessential, and I do it with my kids as well, like the music they listen to and everything. I'm just, oh, what is this? What are you listening to? And they'll do it with me. It's a generational thing. And I guess a lot of where gaming has gone, I'm not that happy with. It's been downhill ever since the advent of mobile gaming and microtransactions and DLC and all of this other stuff. I mean, not across the board, that, you know, obviously generalizations aren't great, but generally speaking, the trajectory I felt has been down, and there just aren't the classics coming out now that used to really get me hyped up. And so I sort of want to preserve a little bit of, I guess, I wasn't young when it came out, but when I was younger, still my youth, my gaming youth, if
right,
I were, you know, to keep something going.
Okay, so then you're to help leave like a legacy for that game, and it really has made a big difference, because you did your contribution, other people contributed as well, but the fact that now there's this community that's still there and they're tweaking it to make it more efficient and stuff.
It's amazing, and it's a constantly evolving thing, and you just don't see that. I mean, every now and again, you know, I'll check out an old game. You do come across these long-standing dead communities, and my gosh, like some of the that you wonder if these kids are, well, they're not kids anymore, they're 35-year-old men who still live in their mum's basement, and they're still like playing these same old games, who, you know, it's horrendous. But and some of the trash talk they're talking, and the abuse they're giving each other. I mean, don't get me wrong, every community's got that. FAF is no different. There are great players and there are the not so great players. But yeah, it's about keeping the whole thing going, and just hope, just making sure something I love doesn't go like everything else. Everything else, you know, seems
Yeah.
to change.
Yeah, that's an awesome why to have for starting out. All right, so we know why you started the YouTube channel, and you kept it going for a while to help it have this community. So today, you know, the community is there. They're people that are working on it on a regular basis, tweaking things. So what's your why today? Like, why are you still creating these casts? Like,
honestly, it's because of the support I get. I got really drunk on it really early on, and I think part of it, like a big share of my subscriber base is American. I get lots of positive comments about just like physical things about my voice and stuff like that, and I'm a total glutton for praise. I'm totally shallow. And, you know, it's nice, and I get it. It's you know, people talk about the internet and how like it affects their mental health when they see lots of negative things happening, and it's, for me, it's the opposite. I get so much support from my subscribers and so much I love comments. It's totally the opposite, and it really brightens my day to see the comments that I get, and also that they've taken over a huge burden, essentially. So there's an interesting interlude in all of this. So I'm trying to think of the dates, and I'm not going to get it right, so I don't want to get too in depth. But there was a period of about 6 months where I kind of put the channel on ice, and I didn't put out any content. And it was, I'm trying to think exactly when it was. So we moved down to our new place, and I had 2 kids of my own to go with my 2 stepkids, so properly full household. There was a lot going on. The wife and I set up a business, which is still going today, is still primary source of income. But I just couldn't justify to my family the time, because it seems crazy. Like in the early days, I was putting out like 4 or 5 casts a week, like crazy stuff. And not all of the matches were great. And they're still not. Sometimes today I'm totally reliant on what replays I can find in the spare time that I have. But on from that, also there's the actual casting time and everything like that. So it takes a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Yeah.
I'm sure you know what it's like. It's the same for anybody who puts out personal content. A lot of other people are doing it at the same time as their own jobs and what have you. So you've got to find that time. So anyway, it was difficult, and paltry ad revenue coming in. I foolishly signed up to an MCN machinima, which basically, which is great. I get out of the contract in March, by the way. Get in, very excited about that, because that's 40% of my ad revenue paycheck that goes to them for absolutely no reason.
Oh, wow.
And they suggest all gaming channels go that way, because in case of some major copyright infringement, they're there to help you with that side of things. But I'm working on a dead game. Like, the rights have been split up between Wargaming and Square Enix and everything. GPG is gone. So nobody, I never play any music or anything, which is one of the main contentions that people get copyright strikes on YouTube and stuff like that. So essentially, why am I paying an MCN? But anyway, that's a massive tangent. Back to what I was talking about before. So it wasn't bringing in what I wanted to. And then Zoc, actually, basically for about 3 or 4 years, he's been the #1 player in the community. As a result, he's always been shoving replays my way, had my contact details. He got in contact with me and told me that Zep was leaving. So the guy who set up the thing, okay, I was like, okay, this is major. That's not great. And it's been taken over. He sold it to this other guy, Visionic, who turns out is a wealthy US businessman who wanted to make a proper project out of it. And could I come back on board for some extra remuneration? And so I was like, okay, well, if I can make this financially viable.
And this is during your break. Like, you took a 6-month break.
Yeah, this is at the end of like 6 months away from casting. And I was constantly getting messages from subs saying, where are you? What's happening? When's the next video coming? You still, even though I put sort of updates up on social media about what was happening and such, but not everybody likes the same social media channels. So it's not always easy to get the word out. And so I got in contact, and we worked out a plan where I would provide such and such a number of casts for I can't even remember what it was now. I think it was like, I don't know what it was. I think it was like it was a cast a week for like it was like $1,000 a month, something like that, round about that. Maybe no, I think it was a bit more than that. So I was like, okay, well, this really suddenly again makes financial sense, you know, to come back, because the ad revenue when you're at whatever I was, like not 18,000 subs at the time, something like that, is not great. The ad revenue, you're talking like, I don't know, $200 a month or something, and that's before the MCN take their cut. So it's a really small amount. And then and that's for the sort of frequency I was doing, so for sort of 1 to 2 casts a week, something like that. So I was like, okay, so I came back and I started doing that, and that was great. And I carried on, and the channel started to grow again. And then he, as I knew was probably going to happen eventually, he had so many fingers and so many different pies. He just didn't have the time to make FAF, I think, what he wanted to make it. So he then opened it up to the community, made it properly community driven again, and other people took over the reins. And it was about the same sort of time that Patreon was really, you know, gaining ground. So that was a big thing. So I was like, okay, I've lost this revenue stream. Can I recoup that so I can keep doing this? So I was just very upfront. I put out a video, and I was very upfront with my subs and said, you know, could we reach such and such a goal or somewhere close to it, and I'll keep going. And amazingly, out of nowhere, they did it. So yeah, so it was just it was thanks to the supporters that the channel's still going, basically, because I couldn't afford to do it otherwise. I'd have to work more physically.
Right. Yeah, so you had the people constantly reaching out, asking you for where are you at, what's going on. Yeah. You got this boost of bringing you back because you got the sponsorship opportunity, and the fact that your whole purpose for starting the channel was to revive and elongate the life of this game. So this guy's mission is aligned with your mission in a way. So it's a very good sponsor. And then you know, when he disappeared, you brought the community in, and they showed their support, and now you've got the
awesome. It was awesome, and they've kept it going ever since. And there was a few lulls there for a while, so it was amazing straight on. We hit the goal, then it tailed off massively, but it was still just enough to keep me to justify keep it ticking over. And then slowly but surely, I don't know what happens. I think you hit like a threshold or something when you get to around about 30,000 subscribers or near enough. The views and seem to increase, and it's definitely, there's a bit of a mini boom going on now, which is awesome, you know. And like peak times, the community is up to something like, I think so. I stupidly said in one of the casts recently it was up to like 1,100-1,200 players, and then one of the guys in the comments corrected me. It's like 1,700 players at peak times, concurrent players. Wow. Which is amazing for a 2007 game. That's kind of unheard of. You just don't see that. So you know, a strategy PC game. Not that that's all just to do with me. Like I say, it's a proper lots of people doing lots of different things. So I want to make that so clear. I'm not taking credit for the FAF project, because it's not my project at all. Right. Very much a team thing.
So you know that now you're continuing these episodes. You know, you talked about how there's, you know, you got the supportive community with that, and you've got this Patreon that's going. And then soon the ad revenue, a big chunk being taken out of that's going to be removed.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm sure. So where do you see this going for you? Like, what's the next step? What's the future look like?
I don't know, man. It's tough. I've thought so many times about transitioning into other games. I mean, not transitioning because that makes it sound like you're going to give up, and I don't want to. This is very much my game, like, that I want to work on for as long as I can, until the community decides enough's enough. But I've done a few other things here and there. But you know what? Like, I'm quite heavily dyslexic, actually, and I think I have a major processing difficulties actually doing like let's play videos and stuff like that, like physically playing a game and holding a conversation at the same time. But that's like, no, it's not happening. So I'm very much kind of restricted to to the sort of format that I do. I think, and that's why people subscribe. That's why people like it. And you know, I'm not, like I said, you talk to any guy, any pro in the FAF community, like I don't know an awful lot about the mechanics of the game, because I'm not a pro myself. Like I'm a
Right.
I suppose a little bit of a connoisseur of what I think makes an entertaining replay. But as for the mechanics of the game, there are lots of other people who are a lot more proficient in the community. But I'm sort of like, this won't make a lot of sense to your American audience, but if there are some older Brits watching, they'll understand. It's a bit like Murray Walker, who was a Formula One racing commentator for like years, like going back to like the 1960s or something. It's just a ridiculous career. But by like the, I don't know, sort of 2010, something like that, he'd started to get a little bit old for the job, but everyone still liked him. But you know, it gets so excited about complete the wrong thing. It'd be like, that's Schumacher's gone off. It's like, that's Coulthard, Murray. Okay, you know, from the other commentator, like Martin Brundle or something would chime in, but nobody cared, because he was excited, and you know, you could tell he got a lot out of it. And I think that's sort of the main thing. I think that's the main thing with anybody who's running a kind of, you know, a channel, is you got to have some of that chutzpah, that juice, you know, that get excited about and show that you're actually enthusiastic about it, and not let that sort of stage fright, you know, take over, as it does with so many things when you're in the public forum.
Right.
But yeah.
So the higher level here, in regards to your current career situation, do you have another job right now? Are you a day job?
So the wife and I run a photography business at a home. We do specialize in newborns, maternity, that kind of stuff. We've got a studio here that we work from, and that's like 90% of my time, you know. So, and I sort of dedicate maybe sort of an afternoon and evening a week for replay selection, and then the next morning on whatever it might be, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever I can find a slot, that'll be the morning that I'll cast it. But yeah, I like I say, the business actually is taking off quite well now, but I'm not prepared to give that time slot away. I need the praise too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you get all kind of feedback. I've had you know, people that review cars talk about how it's like, you know, saved you know, relationships, and I've had people that have done murals that said they've saved lives with their murals. So I'm sure that you're making an impact with, you know, getting.
Yeah, it's exactly, and it's amazing how it can have it can help. I get messages from people, so, you know, and sometimes in some quite dark places, telling me, and it's hard for me to appreciate, because, you know, for me sometimes it feels what I'm doing is a little bit maybe fickle, trivial, like it's entertainment, it's a bit of fun, but to some people it is a major kind of highlight, like when those videos come out and they tell me how they put it, like it's weird, like I always picture people watching it on their phones or something, but people have sent me images of them getting groups of friends together watching on a big screen TV, and they've got beers on the go and popcorn and everything. It's like, wow, is that really happening? First of all, amazing. I'm loving the love out there for Forged Alliance. That's a wow. Yeah, but yeah, it's exciting, you know.
That's amazing. So your home business, that's taken off. It's becoming more demanding, but you also have this community that you built, and you've got this Patreon going. You're going to be getting more of your ad revenue coming in. So you're going to. It sounds like you got some struggle coming up in regards to.
No, I don't. The only struggle is if the community disbands, like the devs, the people who run it, the technical guys who I rely on and the community relies on. If they go, then I have a problem. But I
meant, I guess, from a time management standpoint.
No. Like I say, that's ring fenced. Okay. That's my time, and I don't.
Would you consider
I need it in my life? It's as much for me as it is for my monetary situation. You know.
Yeah, I think it's good that you're doing that. I think it makes a big impact. Have you considered, you know, what it would look like to ramp it up more, or take it to maybe bring more into it?
Yeah, I have. And I don't know, it's really tricky, and you get teased, like I say, when you sort of meet the thresholds. Like I'm pretty sure there's something going on. I'm sure of it. There's some kind of thing with YouTube where you get to these markers and the algorithms say like, oh, they've got such and such a number of subs that will increase the amount of shared video. I don't have any proof of this. I don't know. Like I say, I'm not technical, but just from looking at the numbers, it's like you can see the bumps. I'm not doing anything differently as far as I'm aware. You know, my format really hasn't changed that much. I've tried to change literally in the last couple of weeks. I even put up a thumbnail of clickbait the other day. I was so disappointed in myself, but I wanted to see what happens. Just literally just two words of white text just saying, watch this. And it's depressing, but it works. Like it was up something like, I don't know, on the tracking on analytics of how many views you get over time. It was up like 55% for most of the curve. So it definitely has an impact. People do just go, oh, okay, I'll click that and let's see what happens. But I'm not going to make a habit of that. But the little things like I never used to bother with replays or video specific thumbnails. That clearly has an impact. I'm starting to do little things like that, and you can see little incremental changes where it doesn't take a great deal of extra effort to make these little changes, but it can have a big impact on the numbers. So
I've heard that thumbnails can make a huge difference.
And my thumbnails hadn't changed up until literally, so it's quite a recent change, up until I suppose 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So you're talking about 2 or 3 casts, something like that. It's from then going back to 2012 or whenever it is, 2012, 2013, the thumbnails were the same. It was a shot of just a random part of the game. So you've basically got the map. And it wasn't until I actually started like spending a little bit of time delving into it, you can actually see a correlation when it happened to pick more interesting parts of the game. So for instance, some parts of the game, I'm out on the main map view, and all you've got is a little mini map and lots of little dots. That's going to mean nothing, especially to somebody who doesn't know the game or isn't particularly like fluent in RTS or whatever. But sometimes I zoom in on the action or whatever. And there was one recently actually that instead of the typical 20,000 views, it hit 70,000 views in quite a short sort of space of time. It was purely because it was zoomed in on a group of what's called mobile missile launchers, and they're all stacked up and they're all firing their missiles kind of in unison. And on a tiny thumbnail, though it's an old game, it actually looks like a half decent picture. So it's just like, it's clearly like that is enough to draw people in, just little tiny changes like that. So just now I'm just picking, like making my own screenshots from each match and putting that up. And it seems to, So
that's sort of the stepping stones to the what you have short term moving forward as far as the future goes. But do you have anywhere that your community sits? Do you have like a Discord server or anything like that?
There are lots of, from my personal community.
Yeah, for your
no, I should probably set something like that up. But again, that is sort of next level. So like I say, I've got that time slot of an afternoon, evening sometimes of searching for a decent replay, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it really is sometimes, like trawling through the replays. I don't get sent as many anymore as I used to. I have to keep appealing to people to send those in. And the system of finding replays is sometimes pretty tricky through. So I end up watching so many replays, and sometimes you think, this is amazing. And because it's old technology, it ends up desyncing like a crucial moment. So it's a replay that was amazing all the way through and was probably an amazing game in its totality, but I can't cast it. That's pretty stressful kind of thing itself. So I've got that window, and then the next morning I'm casting, and I just don't have the time with a family, 4 kids, business, and me wanting to play some other games on the side as well. That's my own guilty pleasure still.
I guess some food for thought too is, have you ever considered live streaming while you're digging around through the replays?
Yeah, I totally should do that. That's a brilliant idea. I don't know why I don't do that.
There's probably a lot of people that just like to come hang out with you, even if you're not interacting much. You got a pretty solid community.
I suppose. Yeah, do you know what? That's a great idea. It never occurred. You should come on and manage my channel for me. That's an amazing idea. Maybe, yeah, maybe that'd be a good use of my time. It's hard sometimes though. Like it's bedlam here. So like, kids are mostly in bed. The two older ones aren't yet. They're supposed to be doing homework, but like the little ones, they're 2 and no, God, they're not. I can't keep track of it. They're 3 and 4. And it's mayhem here. So that's one of the reasons I'm so restricted as well, despite working at home as I do. It's all around when I can get some peace and quiet, and there's no guarantee of that. But then I suppose a live stream, that's no biggie. I mean, it's not a proper official format or anything.
Yeah, I think people just come and go. I mean, right now we got 7 people live right here watching, and they're not really talking. So if you guys leave a comment, actually, we can feature it on the screen.
Say hi immediately.
But yeah, I mean, I think that you're sitting in a really good spot. You've got 10 to 15,000 minimum that's tuning into your videos. You've got a solid community. I think if you did a little bit of strategic thinking around it, finding a way to get that community somewhere to sit, and then maybe like sharing some time with them. There's a lot of upside potential with that. Obviously, everything you can do more time and spend more time into. So like it's unlimited that you can do in marketing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just finding that balance, really. But no, definitely food for thought. No question.
So you've been doing your streams for 7 years now, and then before that you were playing Eve, and you're talking on there and streaming. So how do you feel? But you said that early in the days you weren't as engaging with your casts. You weren't maybe as vocal variety and emotion into it. So how do you feel that you've changed as a person from when you started to where you are today?
What do you mean specifically in the casts or generally? Because
just generally in life, maybe a better communicator, or
no, I don't know if there's anything. I suppose maybe a little bit. I mean, definitely it's given me some extra confidence that I wouldn't have had in my 20s, or even early 30s. So yeah, there's definitely something that I have to put on the cast there, but I don't know, it's hard to separate the two with just getting older, and what's related, because I don't know how, like, if it's not a personal question, how old are you, Jeremy?
32.
I see. There's a whole lot of things that are about to stop working. Let me tell you, like late 30s.
Yeah,
and it's frightening the amount of changes. I mean, you look like you've got a good head of hair going there, but this at 32, this was all hair. This was all hair. Just, so it's crazy. But no, I have to give it its due. There's definitely been a lot of positives to take out of it, no question. And I think confidence would have to be the main one.
Nice, cool. So let's say that you meet someone that is looking to start a YouTube channel, maybe even casting replays of another game, something that's a little bit more niche to you. What would be some of your biggest advice to this person starting out?
Like I said before, definitely don't know your game, but don't obsess about it, and think about your own style and the things that make you happy. Because it's all about, like I said before, it's all about energy, and people feed off like your positive energy. You think of all the most kind of successful people, and anytime, like, just look at the people who get up on stage for a living and talk at a business conference or whatever, and the sort of things they bring. Your typical Tony Robbins kind of character. Like it's literally, it's like the big cornflakes rising to the top of the packet. It's like, the ones with the most energy are the most visible, and it's just about not, I mean, you don't have to be loud and brash, but you have to be confident. So and I'd say that's, like I was saying with the Murray Walker thing earlier on, you don't have to be like bang on it. It's much more important to be clear. And I mean, if you're taking a more kind of competitive kind of look at it than I am, that's fine too. But like I say, I'm a play-by-play guy, so it's literally it couldn't be simpler, really. It's say what you see, and people get peed off with me because it's like, Gyle, you're looking at like a squirrel in a tree and talking about it, and there's some massive fight going on the other side of the map. I get that all the time, and I know I'm guilty of it, and shoot me. I actually put the replay ID so people can go and check it out for themselves and run the replay at the same time as the cast. Hopefully it'll stay reasonably in sync, just in case I'm missing stuff, because you know what I do, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be exciting. At the end of the day, that's what entertainment's about. So if you're doing that sort of thing, like I say, juice, as they say in marketing, it's all about the juice.
Yeah, that's huge advice. It's something that I've been working on myself, just bringing more energy, more vocal variety, like trying to bring more passion into it, because it's definitely something I'm passionate about. So I'm trying to take in a lot of the advice that you just shared. So I appreciate that.
Oh, you're doing all right, man. You've pulled in some big names, some proper solid YouTubers with some big numbers on there. Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, do I do an interview? I was like, I'm not sure. And then I saw some of the names who you've done interviews with. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do an interview. It's fine.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate having some awesome guests. I definitely feel lucky. Jade says, better no hair than no head, her grandfather used to say. And it's what's inside that counts.
Damn right. That's some inspirational words right there. Should be on a bumper sticker. Right. If you have a very wide car.
All right. So, that was awesome advice for a new person, and I think that's relevant for just anybody. But let's say that you meet someone who's more established, maybe someone that's got a similar size channel as you. What would be some of your secret sauce? Like, what's something that you feel like you're doing that's different than the average person out there that's helping you stand apart?
Do you know what? I think it's a massive cheat, and I don't know whether I can pass that on, but I think I've ridden a rough shot over the American community on the fact that I have a British accent, and that's not something you can teach. Honestly, the amount of things I've got that is purely because of voice. And I suppose actually part of that, like you were saying before, vocal range is huge as well. Lots and lots of people actually went just purely off the back. I must have been crazy, but purely off the back of this channel. Actually, I did some voiceover workshops. And I cut a demo and I did some stuff like that, but I never properly went for it because I've settled down my wife. We started this other business, so it was always one of those things. Oh, it's in there, and the wife's like, "You should send off that demo," and I'm like, "Haha, who's going to do your video? We'll film the photo editing if I'm gone and run the other half of the business." She's like, "Oh yeah, okay, don't do that." So it's like, but no, like it really is that being sort of, I guess, interesting to listen to. It's even me saying it now, it's sounding like it's such an inflated ego, and I don't mean all that.
I think it has a lot of truth to it.
I'm just kind of relaying what people have said to me about what they like it, because it's the only way I can judge, but yeah, no, definitely, like I was saying, a little bit of humor as well in there, trying not to keep it all too serious. And there's a lot of like stuffy people in esports, which is quite surprising. You would have thought that they've sort of taken some of the worst parts with a lot of the channels that I've seen, the worst parts of regular sports, and forgot to this an industry full of young people on a new-ish medium, doing interesting stuff. It doesn't have to be the same old sort of tired format. I mean, you take the things that work from the established media and the established sports and stuff like that, but you don't have to be too serious, about it. I think I was quite serious for some time early on, and I think I'm getting worse now. It's now I feel like I have, because YouTube have come out with this thing now. I don't know if it's the same in the States. It might be a Europe thing, an EU thing, or a UK thing, but they have to you have to say whether it's for children, like child friendly.
Yeah, we have that.
You got that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Now I'm like clicking a box saying it's mature content. I feel like I say whatever I want. So it's sort of liberated me, maybe in a bad way. Someone actually said recently, it's like, "Oh, it's gone X-rated." I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure I have," but Yeah, no, it's all good.
That's funny. All right, so putting some effort into your voice, taking lessons if you need to, and learning another accent if you're outside the U.S. That's what I got
If
out
you
of that.
can't do it, don't put it on, because that's not going to get you views.
Right. All right. So before I open the floor for you to pitch your brand a little bit, and of course I'll put links to everything on the website and in the show notes. Knowing the type of audience that we have here, do you have any last words of wisdom for them?
Yes, come and play the game immediately. We need more players. Always come and subscribe. Come and check it out. Real-time strategy is not dead, despite what you may have heard. It's merely generally a little bit sleepy. It's a bit dozy. That's all it is. Come on down, join us at FAF, and have a good time.
Awesome. Well, what I was trying to get was any last words for helping people share or inspiring them to feel more comfortable overcoming barriers and stuff.
So that wasn't my option for a shameless plug there.
It's still there. This is live, so it's been done.
Good stuff. So yeah, what was that last question again?
Any last words of wisdom for helping people overcome barriers to sharing? Like if there's people that don't feel comfortable, putting themselves out there, like any last words for them?
Yeah, just put it out there and see what happens. At the end of the day, no one's going to come after you with a knife. It's it's the internet. Just put something out there, see what happens, and and I've had lots of negative comments as well. I've been talking about all the fantastic support I've gotten, but literally, if Jesus came back and started a YouTube channel, there would be a whole lot of ugly stuff coming his way too. There always is. There's nothing you can do about it. There are going to be trolls out there. It's just about growing a little bit of a skin, filtering out the bad noise, and then working out what's driving people, what they're enjoying, and trying to give them more of that. That's all it is. So just don't listen to the fade out the trolls. Listen to the people who like your stuff and focus on doing more of it.
Yeah, you hear that? Just get started.
That's it. Throw your hat into the ring, otherwise you'll never know.
Well, Gyle, I appreciate you coming on here, diving deep into your why, sharing your whole journey, and giving us all this wisdom and tips for how other people can, follow your footsteps. So I appreciate that. So how do people find you? Where can they go?
So I mean, literally head out to YouTube, type in Gylecast or Gyle. That should do it. GYLE or GYLE space cast. And that'll bring it up. You'll see a lot of strange sort of robot battles going on, but enjoy. The cat's got in here somehow. Yeah, go check it out. It's well worth your time. A lot of free entertainment.
Awesome. Well, I'll have links to all your social accounts on the website, and
appreciate
it. Push everyone over there. But before I let you go, I always like to ask for some feedback, as far as your overall experience, and if you have any feedback for me, because this is still a journey for me.
You're running a slick operation, honestly. I've got to say, from the moment, just as well, the stuff you're doing in the background, the way you set up the meeting, I got to say, was awesome. I've never had something sort of facilitated and all the rest of it, but dude, just keep doing what you're doing, because it's awesome. I know I'm enjoying the content. You got a new subscriber in me, so
I appreciate it. That's awesome. Cool. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. I'm going to end the podcast here.
Cool. Take it easy.